this is the center of the spiritual book universe, so I hope you can feel the energy a little bit. You feel the energy? Fantastic. So my name is Mike, and I guess the purpose of the evening is just to share a little bit about the topic of the evening, which is this thing called the immune system. I have a funny feeling that this is probably the most health conscious era in history, and that's because we all kind of share the same international medical consultant, otherwise known as Google. Have you ever Googled one little symptom from some physical ailment? You know, like an itch in the back of your leg. Have you ever done something, just a little bump in the top of the arm or whatever? It doesn't matter what it is. And then 2 clicks later, you'll have 100 diagnoses from 100 different sources from 100 different countries. I mean, it's really amazing, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder how our parents survive without it. But of course, one of the downsides is that we become a little bit kind of neurotic about every little scratch, itch, bump and pain in our body, and we go running to the Google to find out what might be wrong. But I guess you're not here to explore the health of our physical body, but you're more interested in really what I became more interested in a few years ago, which is something called well-being. And very often we get the two mixed up. Health and well-being kind of get tangled together. And I'm sure you know someone who has very good health, but is not well in their being. Do you want to know someone a bit like that? Or maybe someone whose physical health is not very good, but are very well in their being. You all know the difference? Someone is very healthy and a very well-being is open and warm and embracing and upbeat and positive, and they're kind of, they always look on the sunny side. Whereas someone who's not well in their being, a bit grumpy, bit of a long face a lot of the time, unhappy, closed, tight, resistant to what's going on. And so I got kind of interested in where this was coming from. Why do we become unwell, despite what may be a very healthy body? And so I'm sure you're all very familiar with the two energies in life. You're all familiar with what do we say sometimes to describe ourselves? I'm a human being. I have a human form, and there's a being of consciousness. There is matter and mind, or body and soul. You all get the two energies. One is very physical. You can see it, cut it, burn it, drown it, eat it, cook it. Well, maybe not that much, but the other one's very invisible, internal, intangible. You cannot see it. And sometimes we call this physical energy, and we call this spiritual energy, the energy of consciousness. Then arises the question, which one are we taught to identify with the moment we arrive? Which energy? The physical. And that's why when you get out of bed in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror, and the first thing you do is you go, ah, because you believe what you see in the mirror is what you are. True? And if you're very aware at that moment, you'll notice that that's where your stress begins for the day. Ever get a little bit stressed out sometimes? Anyone here do stress? Does anyone do stress? No. No. And stress, of course, comes from really the root cause, the belief that I am what I see in the mirror. Because if you notice, from belief comes thought. And the thoughts that arise from that belief, maybe you'll recognize these little thoughts of anxiety, little thought of tension, little thought of worry. Another grey hair, another wrinkle. What will they think of me? Which is code for how I look. And then we spend the next few minutes going, now how do I disguise this for the rest of the, what shall I wear, and how am I going to look for, and so on. And so this is where, actually, what some people might call a normal start to the day. Little tension, little anxiety, little worry about our physical form. But if that carries on over many, many years, especially the worry about what other people will think about us, then the stressfulness, the stressful emotions that we create they just become more intense. And then suddenly one day we go searching for, why am I getting stressed, and what do I need to do to change it? And that was my journey basically. I woke up 30 years ago very stressed out, and that's what made me start searching for the origins of stress. The kind of background idea, I guess, behind this particular book or topic is the differentiation between two things. What happens to the body is something we call disease. And we have a brilliant immune system which is working all the time, it's working right now to maintain the health of your body. But what no one teaches us is that we also experience something called dis-ease. And dis-ease are moments of mental and emotional suffering, otherwise known as stress. And what no one teaches us is that we also have an immune system which can restore our wellness. Because whenever I'm experiencing any stress, I'm not well. I'm in a moment or many moments of dis-ease. And the reason we don't do much about it is we're carrying a belief which kind of says, that's normal, that's natural, everyone's stressed, everyone has moments of dis-ease, so not much you can do really. And the other belief that stops us doing anything about it, the big one really, the belief that runs the world. You all know the belief that runs the world? Very simple. It's not me, it's them that's making me feel this way. But of course, the reality is, the truth is, no one ever makes me feel anything. That's my job. True? Think so. That for me is one very deep, eternal truth. And that's why belief is not the truth. We're carrying the belief that it's them, but actually the truth is, it's me. And that's not helped by EastEnders. Did anyone here have an EastEnders moment today? You all know what EastEnders is, don't you? No? Any soap opera actually, because what's the script of every soap opera? What's the character activation in every soap opera? Basically, you're making me upset. It's you that's making me feel like this. No, it's not. It's you that's making me for 30 minutes or an hour. In fact, just about every movie you go to carries this belief implicit in the characters and their relationship, that someone else is responsible for what I feel, for my stress, my dis-ease. So I decided it's time to do some research. And of course, every one of us is a scientist, and every one of us has our own unique laboratory to find out where our dis-ease has its origin. And that laboratory is called consciousness. So I went right into consciousness, and I discovered that we have an immune system within our consciousness, however, slightly different from the body. Immune system working all the time. The immune system of consciousness has to be activated every day. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And I very quickly discovered there's 3 movements of that system. 3 movements. The first movement, of course, I'm sure again you're familiar with, is one of our favorite words in universities like this, and it's called awareness. And it's about being aware of what I'm feeling at any given moment. Alongside the awareness that it's me that's making me feel, that it's me that's making me suffer. You don't know the difference between pain and suffering? You know that one? Pain is compulsory, but suffering is optional, a choice. Yeah, pain will inevitably happen because it's physical. Someone's going to bump into your body sometime. But suffering is entirely optional because it's mental and emotional. And no one else is responsible for my thoughts and my emotions except me. Step 1, aware of what I'm feeling, the emotions that I'm feeling. It sounds easy in theory, but not so easy in practice, because no one teaches us the language of our feelings, how to identify and understand the emotions we create and that we are feeling, and the difference between the two, emotion and feeling. It's just not part of our education. So awareness is the first step. The second step is something called realization. And the second movement of consciousness, the immune system of consciousness, is to realize the cause of the moment of dis-ease. And that means realizing what's causing my stress. And it's always one thing. In the body, the cause of disease, usually, not always, but we're quite familiar now with many viruses which cause disease in the body. You go home tonight, you go to your office tomorrow, and on your desk is a very expensive machine, and you spend a lot of money protecting it from virus. And so if the virus gets in, it causes chaos in the machine, and it might even crash. And so what's the virus that invades our consciousness, not our body, but our consciousness, and causes chaos in many forms of dis-ease? And that virus is called belief. All belief causes dis-ease. Quite challenging for us to get that, because we're grown up and we're fed on a diet of other people's belief. And the truth will set you free, which is another word for healing in consciousness. Freedom in consciousness is the equivalent of being healed. And the reason for that is most of us are not free, because we're very attached to our beliefs and belief system. And when you're attached to anything, I'm not free.